Let's move. Blaze of justice. We stand as one. Are you gonna give me orders?
Hello everyone and welcome back to TSL 5, where we're getting ready to hop into our second best of 5 of the day. It's going to be an awesome one, Clem versus DongRaeGu. But first, we have a couple of other things to attend before we actually start talking about Ting, because Ting is amazing. I also want to talk about those graphics, Sean, because those graphics are cute, adorable, and get me going.
Yes, I mean, I don't know who made those, but like the sheer creativity and adorableness of that, just to have everything be done in a claymation style. I mean, I know TeamLiquid is famous for having really good graphic design on a lot of their products and tournaments and whatnot, but I mean, this is on another level. That is amazing.
Yeah, I love them as well. Now, one of the sponsors that we have, of course, is Ting. If you guys want to try Ting, you can head over to tsl.ting.com. There we go. And it's actually very easy, but we're going to talk more about that later. We'll explain it to all of you guys in detail. What we do have with Ting as well is a funny little segment. You guys may have seen it yesterday, where you guys can actually call in and ask us questions. And we will be able to play your question in the broadcast later on today. And then obviously we'll be able to give you guys some answers as well. I believe that the phone number will be posted in the chat, but you guys can also see it here on stream. It is 1855. Good luck, have fun. 1111. So yeah, well, 111 actually.
I love the vanity phone number too. It's perfect.
Yeah. So yeah, if you guys have any questions for Sean or me, there's a good chance that we'll play your question live on air here later today, and that's obviously fun. I believe we had it yesterday with Jess and Wardy. I think it was Borsty who asked the question. All I remember of the question is that it ended with #TarrantPatch, and I was like, oh my goodness. You give StarCraft fans a phone number and they start balance mining? Unbelievable.
Dude, Borsty is the best. Borsty always has the best GIFs on Twitter.
Yes. Alrighty, so we are gonna start talking maybe about Clem versus DongRaeGu. Sean, are you feeling this one?
Well, let me be honest. I am surprised that we're starting this match at around 5:30. That was the fastest 3-0. And now Clem, an absolute all-star, has just been improving at such an incredible rate. And then DongRaeGu, one of the old school greats, who was sort of off the map for a while. I believe did military service, came back, and now DongRaeGu appears to be in pretty good form, at least good enough form to 3-0 Solar yesterday.
Yes, I mean, that was actually a shocking result to me. I heard that Jess and Waddy was like, I'm really surprised. And Jess was like, it's a bit surprising, but not that much. And I was like, I was actually sitting in my car at that point, and I wasn't watching, but I was listening to the commentary, and I was like, I'm actually very surprised. I would have always picked Solar there. So I'm glad that wasn't part of my predictions yesterday, because I would have had that wrong too. So far, Dario's laughing at me because my first prediction was horrible. So everybody who got false in the true or false prediction game is off to a good start. But Sean, I'm not going down without a fight. You know what? I actually picked the Frenchman here, but we'll talk about that soon. As you guys can see, we have loaded into the game on the right top side of Everdream once again. We're looking at the main base of our Korean Zerg player, DongRaeGu.
And or yonder in the bottom left of Everdream, a Terran player improving so quickly. It's Liquid Clem. Clem has just been delightful to watch. Like a really good mix of strong, straight-up play and some switch-ups.
Yeah, he's been on fire. The results that Clem has had over the last 2 months when it comes to online StarCraft, I think they've been absolutely insane. We do often have to mention, or pretty much always, that we are still waiting for Clem to have a run like that at an offline event one time. Because going into IM Katowice, a lot of eyes were on Clem. We all had high hopes. We're like, all right, this is it. This is going to be the ultimate breakthrough performance by Clem. You know, people were predicting him to at least make it into the group stage, but maybe like a top 16 or even a top 8 run. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. But after that, he went home, and it seems like he started practicing harder than ever before, because the kid has been absolutely fantastic to watch lately.
Yeah, I mean, I think we tend to summarize almost a little too briefly, like, he needs to work on his nerves when everything's on the line. Figuring out how to calm your nerves down is actually such a difficult skill set to learn. There's like so many different aspects of it, like when you're getting ready and you're preparing on that stage, just not psyching yourself out when you suddenly get surprised in the middle of a game, not psyching yourself out, trying to stay calm. What happens when you accidentally forget a supply depot, which frankly everybody does at some point, even on the ladder? How do you not psych yourself out? There's like so many of these little situations, and each of them feels completely different when you're up there. And it's so easy to just get diverged from your usual path.
I'm actually really excited to see what DongRaeGu will bring to the table as well, because he had that amazing 3-0 victory yesterday over Solar that really caught me by surprise and did not see that one coming. Now I kind of wonder, how good is his ZVT going to be? Like, clearly it must be good as well, because there's no freaking way you can be that good in ZVZ and then not be any good at all against Terran. Is it good enough to beat Clem? I mean, Clem has been bringing the fight to Raynor lately in very straight-up normal games. Has actually taken more than just a couple of series, even one best of 7. So I like to think that Clem's TVZ is on point. It's really good. Well, let's see about DongRaeGu's ZVT.
What do you think about this third hatchery position? I mean, DongRaeGu is pretty much doing everything straightforward back in the main base, but we saw a little tiny scuffle at that right base, which always feels a lot easier. It's tucked against the side of the map. What about this? Ooh, is Reaper going to get picked off? No, they never get picked off. They always like to look like they will.
Yeah. It's like, is the Reaper gonna go down? And at one point you're like, no, they actually never go down. If it's like Clem or Ytterm or, one of those guys, I'm like, no. Hero Marine, it's like, no, the Reaper always lives, guys. It's okay. It is kind of trapped. Now, what I think about this base is obviously that Clem was preventing DongRaeGu, right, from taking the base at 3 o'clock, because that's the one that you would love to take. It's just a bit easy to defend. Yeah, I don't know. It feels like this one is going to be harder to... Whoa, that's an early Roach Warren. Okay, so maybe that's why he took this hatchery. He's like, you know what? If you don't want to let me expand, I'll take a forward hatch, and I'll actually start being pretty cheeky and aggressive in this game.
There's also a Liberator that's popping out right now that will be soon heading up, that third base, way more exposed from Liberator harass. And at this point, Clem is doing kind of like the normal thing that you want to be doing at this point in the game. So both players kind of have this early setup where it's hard to get any strong read. Everything just looks reasonable at the front. The creep spread just feels agonizingly far away. I mean, look at just how sluggish these queens are.
Yeah, it's definitely... Clem has done a really good job in making sure that those bases are not connected yet. I have the feeling the link count is not very high because he was saving up money, and that means that the drones are lined up already. And this is bad for DongRaeGu. This is a fantastic scout for Clem, and it's a lot of damage, Sean.
Oh my gosh, 13 drones down. Drones desperately trying not to line themselves up, but there's an AI programmer at Blizzard laughing maniacally right now. Every single time the drones try to move more pickoffs, there's still a small number of Hellions that are alive, down to 2. Soon enough, it's going to be cleaned up, but I mean, Clem has all the information in the world.
Yeah, I wanted to say that did the Liberator get a kill? No way, right?
Wait, the Liberator has 3 kills. What got killed?
I think it was just Lynx or drones or something. No Queen tapping on down, but this is bad for DongRaeGu, man. It really felt that he wanted to make some sort of a timing attack of like 38 drones and then just maybe get a cancel on the command center. Maybe that's what he was hoping for. I really don't see him ever getting this. He is droning up behind this, so this is not an all-out, all-in. But this attack needs to do damage, and I just don't think it's really gonna do a lot of damage.
This is very strong wall off from Clem. The bunker positioning is absolutely perfect. The tank's just going to calmly stroll to low ground, get a siege up going in, but DongRaeGu is very smart for doing this counter push. I mean, as many drones as were lost by DongRaeGu, keep in mind that all the Hellions are down, the Reaper's down, the force that denies the creep spread, the force that gets the scouting, they're all gone. I mean, if you actually take a look at Clem's vision, he sees only this front. Oh man, is that... Okay, yeah, easy there, Orbital Command. Easy. Whoa.
I'm actually surprised, that DongRaeGu achieved already as much as he did with this push. Like, even forcing this orbital to be cancelled and, it's being lifted at this point. That means no triple mule yet. I still feel he needs a whole lot more because he took a lot of economic damage. He made a lot of units. We all know how Zerg economies work. That's just not something that Zerg can normally get away with. But actually, I felt this already was a little more successful than I expected it to be. Getting like 6-7 SCVs, getting a Liberator, I believe, right? Yeah, I got the Lib, 2 depots, and canceling the orbital for a split second. It's all right, but I still feel like he needs more.
Well, I mean, actually, if you look back into Clem's main base, Clem only just now had his slow flying command center be able to find a spot to be able to land and then start as a new orbital command. So that is crazy delayed. It's not just the orbital timing, but also all the SCVs that would have been produced at that point. 1-1 upgrades, a little earlier for Clem than for DongRaeGu. And I really want to keep stressing the lack of Hellions, the lack of creep spread denial. If you're against a good Zerg player, I mean, God forbid you're against a Scarlet when this happens. I mean, if the creep spread gets sufficiently far out, you've almost undone all the benefit of picking off the drones early on.
Yeah. Now, DongRaeGu is going for a very heavy Roach composition, apparently. Already had those initial Ravages still alive. That's what I love, by the way. He made that push, he did the damage, and he didn't throw away those Ravages that he initially had. So the supply, like right now, you'd be like, oh, okay, DongRaeGu's up 20 supply, that's normal. I think a minute or two from now, DongRaeGu is going to be up 50 or 60 supply, and that's going to look very dramatic. But then it's going to be mostly Roaches and Ravages. And I think for Clem at this point, you look at this and be like, all right, I guess I just need to macro up. Because eventually Clem's army is going to be better and more powerful.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised to see if you did build that Roach Warren early, making a little use of it, but I'm glad you pointed out how heavy he was going Roaches. Like when I said, oh, the 1-1 upgrades ahead, I did not even notice that it was missile attacks. Now, that could be because it's 5:50 in the morning in California right now, but I think it's more so just the fact that DongRaeGu is playing this out very, very interestingly. Like Clem is trying to move up with this small patch of Marines, and DongRaeGu, oh no, had Roaches caught off on the bottom, and Clem's just going to clean that up, load up, dip out, and this is exactly the kind of maneuver that Clem needs to do to make sure that he continues to leverage that early drone kill.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Marines obviously have way more micro potential than Roaches. These are fights that I think feel very frustrating for Zerg players because it's like, oh yeah, Terran, you're so good. Like, look at you stimming and moving and picking up my units and then getting out of there. But yeah, that's just the power of the Marine. It's very quick. It has a lot of burst damage. It seems like DongRaeGu is indeed going for that big attack, so that makes it even worse for him that he lost so many units. I don't know, man. Attacking up there against all those tanks, still a lot of Marines as well. I have the feeling that even if he gets all the tanks, how is he ever going to get all these Marines? Well, we're about to find out, Sean.
DongRaeGu is not looking back. Perfect positioning from Clem, picking off all the Roaches on the side, darting forward, and all of a sudden DongRaeGu is wondering why there's no Baneling nest at home. Where is going to be the follow-up defense? Clem calmly rips everything to shreds, and that is good game.
A very convincing first game here by Clem that I think will excite a lot of the European Terran fans in particular. But I think this is also a game that, you know, we can move along quite quickly. DongRaeGu seemed like he wanted to go for a Roach timing attack. The one thing you don't want to do when you want to go for a Roach timing attack is lose 14 drones or 15, whatever it was. Clem just off to a fantastic start and maybe struggled a tiny bit more with the defense against that first little push. But he obviously knew that he was going to be in a really good position because the Terran army is simply better than a Roach army of a relatively weak economy.
I will never get tired of dunking on Roaches. Like, yeah, look, your supply is high, but you're a bad unit. What can I say? You know, I actually want to come back to that early Hellion attack because Clem forced the third to be at the ever so marginally farther away third base location. The Queens, I mean, agonizingly slowly off creep, lumbered down to the low ground, shot twice, and then the Hellions came around. And I mean, it was like this much space on the screen where there was no creep. And that was all it took for Clem to exploit this positioning and go in there. I mean, talk about subtle moves, right? You normally just think you're being a total ass delaying the third base on the right, and then you go ahead and play a normal game. But actually being able to exploit that tiny little differential on the creep meant the entire game for Clem.
Yep, and especially because of the style that DRG was going for as well, right? He didn't play a Ling Bane style, because normally you have way more Lings, and then Terran players will think twice about diving into the natural, because we've all been there where it's like, wow, the natural's wide open, we should drive in, and then you get surrounded immediately by Lings and Queens. You're like, all right, and now the entire map is indeed going to be covered in creep because I lost my Hellions, and that was a bad choice. But in this situation, it was a perfect choice because DRG had like, what was it, 8 or 10 Zerglings? I mean, 6 Hellions and the Reaper really don't care about that.
And I mean, I wish there was a graph in game that we could open to show how flustered the players are at various points in the game. You know, like what's the emotional status? When I was watching other places on the map during that, you know, lead up to the very final fight and at the final fight, DongRaeGu was actually macroing really well. There was a Liberator that tried to harass, perfect positioning from DRG to pick it off. I think that even though DongRaeGu lost this game, I feel like it's less due to being flustered and more just due to, I had a Roach Ravager plan and it's been thrown off. Let me give it a shot anyways. Sometimes you just shrug your shoulders and say, I don't know exactly what I'm supposed to do here, so I'm just going to stick to what my original plan was. And I mean, Clem just had that many more units at the time. So I still feel like there's a lot of confidence in DongRaeGu's gameplay overall.
Sean, this is not a narrative that I really want to go for today.
Please.
Can we just point out that so far we've had 4 matches between Koreans and Europeans, and the Europeans are 4-0 at this point.
Yeah.
I don't think that's
there.
Yeah. I mean, throughout the end of the day, I'm sure that it's going to be a whole lot closer, and maybe even the Koreans will end up on top. But that's actually a pretty spectacular way to start. 4-0 for the Europeans against the Koreans.
Down in the bottom left corner, the old school Zerg coming back strong as ever. It's DongRaeGu.
On the right top side, look at the main base of the young, feisty Frenchman. He's been playing absolutely sick StarCraft lately. Representing Team Liquid, it is Clem.
I remember lately in StarCraft 2, there's been a real convergence in terms of the Korean, non-Korean scene's skill level. We see players trading wins and losses with each other from every region. But remember in the very, very early StarCraft 2 days, just how often it would be the first game of the day, the non-Korean player would win, and Roddy would be like, 100% win rate for the foreigners.
Yeah.
And that would only last about 20 minutes or so. I mean, just the access to replays, cross-server gameplay, the existence of all these online cups has really given an opportunity to propagate the sort of strategies and styles across servers.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Eternal Empire, I think, is a very fun map here as our second battleground in this best of 5. Because Clem, on this map in particular, he's had some ludicrous games over the last 2 months. I mean, I can think of multiple games that he had against Raynor. They all go past the 27-minute mark. I've seen games where, without exaggeration, over 1,000 Zerglings were killed by Clem. I mean, he's amazing to watch on this map. And it's hard to pinpoint really what makes him amazing. It's just across the board. He looks great. He's good in the initial start. He's good in controlling the map. He's good at multitasking. And he never really puts all his eggs in one basket where it's like, okay, I need to win right here, right now. It's like, no, there's always a backup plan. There's always another command center somewhere going down. I love watching Clem on this map against her.
And this is exactly the sort of map where fundamentals shine. Like, if you look at it, you have relatively easy to defend third base or 3 base setup. Even the 4th base is relatively straightforward, especially with it being pressed against the side of the map. And the thing that actually makes this map feel really awkward is that it looks kind of like there's a straight path from one base to the other, but it's like you kind of go up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down. And those ramps are killer when you start to get to the late game. So it kind of forces you as a player to find unusual angles to attack from and to move through, because going straight dead through the middle can be such a huge problem. And with all the sort of counterattack paths all safely on high ground, it allows you to do pressuring at the corners of the map very nicely. So I'm eager to see one long game today, Roddy.
I'm sure we'll get a couple, Sean. I'm with 8 best of 5s. I am just not worried about it. I get worried when it's like they bring me in for, like, let's say, something, you have a global finals day or WCS event, and they're like, all right, and I end up with like 3 best of 3s, and I'm like, okay, well, that's not that much, but at least there's some desk segments. And then sometimes 2 of my best of 3s, they end in like 15 minutes. I'm like, come on, is this my day of casting? But right now, I'm really not worried. With 8 best of 5s, I am convinced that we'll get to see a couple of long games. We can talk a little bit about what Clem is doing here, which I kind of love.
Yeah.
It's like in the first game, he opens up with like 6 Hellions, and he obviously goes very adventurous with them, dives into the middle line. This game, 3 command centers before the 3-minute mark. It's like, all right, that's the complete opposite. Very macro-oriented. I love it.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that this pair of Hellions is really cute from Clem, because going up to, like what Maru did versus Ragnarok, for instance, where you have like 8 Hellions and the 2 Banshees, this very map control, harass focus style. When you build just 2, it really gives some question marks for the Zerg. Are you going to be building that many Hellions? Are you doing something standard? The Hellions are still fast enough to pick off Zerglings, as we saw with this one Scout Zergling at the start of the game. Or excuse me, at the top of the map right there. But currently, if you're DongRaeGu and you're doing your usual standard setup with your 3 base, your queens, your speed, it's not entirely clear what the Terran player is doing. We see DongRaeGu actually march in Overlord into the entrance and see that there's no factory at the front.
Nope,
Just a
he
Baron.
saw Marines. That's pretty much all he did. I also want to point out, by the way, I know that this is a thing that DongRaeGu has done before, but it's something that I don't personally see very often when I cast the European Zergs. It's a 1 Evo before Lara, and then he just gets Carapace. It's kind of funny. I don't know. Like, I know that he's a fan of it. He's done it quite a few times over the last few months, but this is definitely not the gold standard in this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time you as a Zerg are doing nothing, building drones, and all of a sudden, bam, 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 Baneling, upgrade. You know, it's just all in on the Ling and Baneling, sort of defense. But if you get this very early Carapace versus exactly this kind of push, you can often get the Carapace down, and that now your queens are a little bit more resilient against those Marines. Very defensive early opening, but this is an insanely fast Marine medevac timing. By skipping out on all the Hellions, I mean, I hope DongRaeGu's got his thinking hat on. He's
got no
Baneling
Banelingness, but this base is gonna get cancelled for sure, man. And I have seen Clem have a lot of games where it's like, okay, 1 cancel is nice, but it rarely stays at 1 cancel. Then he gets the second one, he gets the third one, he starts canceling the base underneath this one as well.
Yeah.
But this already feels like such a good position for Clem to be in. His economy is great. The map presence right now is great. He's getting Overlord after Overlord. He's now picking off a couple of creep tumors. Oh, I'm starting to get very worried here for DongRaeGu.
Very, very subtle plays from Clem throughout the series. I mean, by skipping out on the Hellions and going for these Marines, what do you normally do as the Zerg? You spread out Overlords to spot the Hellions so you can reallocate your queens and okay, cool, a whole bunch of free Overlords. I mean, Clem is not getting this early drop pressure to, say, kill the Zerg player or drop in the main. He's kind of treating them as better Hellions. He's picking off bases. Oh, there's some queens here that might be able to repel some Hellions previously. Nope, just going to micro them forward. We see some slow Banelings when those hop off creep. Is Clem going to try to pick them off? No, Clem is actually just going to comfortably pick off all the Zerglings.
There is a Zergling run by, though. There is a big Zergling run by happening on the other side of the map, but Clem seems like he left plenty of units behind. I actually thought this was going to be bad for Clem, but it's not bad at all. Now he just picks off 20 Zerglings and doesn't really lose a single thing. At the same time, on the other side of the map, Clem is still sniping slow Banelings. Wow. I mean, Clem is actually playing fantastic, and DongRaeGu is in some serious trouble already.
Well, the Mutalisks are finally getting produced, which in theory would give a little bit of breathing room for the Zerg player. Oh, I can now push back the medevacs. I can now maybe start to macro. But here we see Clem immediately following up that harassment with another push. And this timing couldn't be better. The Mutalisks are going to pop out as the push arrives. No opportunity to delay at all.
DongRaeGu just didn't see this army again. The tanks are going to siege up on the high ground, and that means that they're going to be in range of this hatchery. This is going to be so hard for DRG to deal with, because now he's going to have to go up those ramps that you were talking about. He does have a couple of Banelings, but Sean, I have the feeling that this is pretty much always going to be a pretty ugly trade for the Zerg player.
Yeah, I mean, Clem is basically playing whack-a-hatch. The hatch comes up, takes it down. Here comes the swing in from DongRaeGu. Speed Banelings are done. Mutalisks pick off the tanks. Perfect angling from DongRaeGu. Queens there to pick away at the medevacs. And here DRG has enough Mutalisks and Banelings to finally eliminate this entire force.
Oh, well, look at the Baneling fire eliminate what, Sean? Look at Clem, he gets all the Banelings there. Oh my goodness. Clem, you are so good. The Muta's busy chasing the medevacs. Somehow that medevac survives as well, by the way, with 1 HP. These Marines are still going strong. Clem is playing really well, and DRG is just not getting the trades that he's looking for. But at least he kept his hatchery alive, right? That's the one saving grace for DRG. He kept the hatchery alive. That's pretty big, but he's gonna fall very far behind in the upgrades, because 2-2 is more than halfway done for Clem. DongRaeGu only now started +2 Carapace, and he's just building his second Evo chamber, so it's looking really bad, but at least he kept his base alive.
DongRaeGu is finally starting to move onto the other side of the map with any units whatsoever. I mean, you just can't admire Clem enough with these timings, these follow-ups, and yeah, he lost that force. Where did he retreat? To the far bottom right. Where was he expanding? To the north. Any way that DongRae's moving, Clem is doing something active and significant on the other axis of the map. Clem's now moving out with a gigantic force. 2-2 almost done. 2-2 for DongRaeGu just started. I mean, this is going to be one of those 20-minute defenses for the Zerg.
I honestly don't think he's gonna last that long, Sean. With Widowmine Drilling Claws done as well, this is going to be so difficult. Unless Clem slips up. Like maybe DongRaeGu can get a great Baneling connection, but so far the snipes have been out of this world for Clem. His micro really has been on point. He is gonna get that upgrade advantage. He is gonna get a good setup with all these Widowmines as well. DongRaeGu is gonna walk a couple of links forward, but the first Widowmine connection is already good. I feel like this is where Clem just loves to shine, and he's gonna... this is not gonna stop. He's gonna keep this position for a long time, and he's gonna make some very slow but steady progress.
Small forces skirmishing at the north side of the map. We see a tiny little movement up here. Pair of Widowmines going to pick off most of the lings. Baneling's going to roll up, be relatively ineffectual, and at the same time, DongRaeGu sends the army towards the main force. The Marine count is looking a little bit low here, but the Baneling count continues to roll in. But look at this target firing from Clem. He didn't even move. He didn't even run. He just stood there and picked off Baneling after Baneling. And so the supply for DongRaeGu is plummeting in the midst of all of this.
Yep, that was not good enough. I mean, the unit's lost resource tab kind of tells the tale of this game. DongRaeGu already losing 4,000 resources more. And those are not insane numbers if the Zerg was actually 20 workers ahead all game and had a much quicker fort base. And Terran was like really in a position where they needed to make something happen. That's not the case. Clem opened up triple CC. He played just as economic, if not even more economic than DRG. So for DRG to lose 4,000 resources more, I mean, that's just incredibly rough.
Very, very careful positioning here from DongRaeGu to wait until the last possible second to attack. And is DongRaeGu actually going to just sacrifice this base? It looks like maybe yes. I mean, Marines are just everywhere on this map. DongRaeGu just cannot get a break. Widowmines and Marines battling these Mutalisks a little bit in the middle of the map. DongRaeGu starting to find some pickoffs, but down at the fourth base, it looks like Clem was sufficiently distracted. There's only 8 Marines left. The Thor's gone. I think DongRaeGu might be able to get an edge throughout multitasking.
There are a million Widowmines. There are so many medevacs here as well. I think DRG did a good job in sniping a couple of the reinforcements. And obviously the Muta count is actually quite high. So DRG is doing good, but he has to be careful. You're Baneling connecting there with a couple of the Marines. That's very nice. These Mutas are actually very bruised up at this point. The thing is, though, this is not Clem's real army. The real army will eventually come, and that already looks a lot more terrifying. I mean, I'm surprised that DRG is hanging in there for as long as he did, but now these Banelings will get cancelled as well. And look at these upgrades. 3-3 is done. Oh my goodness, that went so quick.
I mean, I can't believe Clem just is on 5 base at 3-3. The army that just died, well, it's back again in larger numbers. DongRaeGu is barely going to be able to pick off some of these Marines. The hatch falls. I mean, the Mutalisks are all in yellow and red health. I mean, Clem is just absolutely out everythinging DongRaeGu.
That's the thing at this point, guys. Sometimes you just out everything your opponent. And that is what Clem did in game 2 against DongRaeGu. I mean, Clem just put up a clinic there. There's no other way to put it. He put on the clinic. He had a cool build order, a very quick triple CC. Only made those 2 Hellions. DongRaeGu just never got going in this game. I really believe that if you give Clem like a finger with the first 60 Marines, it's like, that's it. At this point, you're trailing. And that's just kind of the way that I saw that game.
In DongRaeGu's defense, but only briefly, if you look at a couple of the small skirmishes that happened around the map, Clem occasionally lost focus and just gave up 16 Marines to a Baneling. Occasionally just, let some medevacs fly into some Mutalisks. But Clem's sort of universal play, every time a fight was cleaned up, another Terran expansion was down. Every time there was an army that was eliminated, there was another one that was just as large. I can't believe how fast 3-3 came. Like, I cannot believe how quick that 3-3 was. And it's a really clever opening. The no Hellions, but instead just rush very, very quickly for Marine Medevac to be a sort of more versatile Hellion force.
It's a triple CC opening. Like his third CC is at 2 minutes and 38 seconds. It was before the hatchery of DongRaeGu. Like that's... And then still having such quick stim and then still getting fantastic trades across the board. Man. I mean, the Baneling snipes, it wasn't just once, right? It was like there were 3 or 4 moments where like, yeah, these Marines are going to go down. It's like, wait a minute, they're not going to go down because they sniped every single Baneling. I mean, Clem just played as amazing as he has been doing lately. Like, it's not even a surprise anymore to see Clem play like this. I think actually, I mean, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself here, but I think Clem is one of the serious outsiders to win this entire tournament. I genuinely believe that he's good enough to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's really incredible the subtle decision-making Clem makes. Because like you're talking about with those Banelings, the most important thing to do in micro is to make sure things are not moving and that they're attacking. It's really easy to over-micro Marines to the point where everyone's running and no one's shooting. But my God, Clem so smartly stood ground and just blasted oncoming Banelings. Down in the bottom right, down 0-2, despite playing some very solid overall macro plays. Can he pull it back? In the red trunks, it's DongRaeGu.
Going to be a frustrating series for him where it felt like he didn't really do much yet, but he's down 0-2 already against this man in the right top side. He's on fire and it seems like he wants to stay on fire. It is a liquid Clem.
You know, maybe I'm a petty person, Roddy, but you know, when you were entering into any tournament, would you ever lose a match but then see someone you respected lose their match and go, okay, there we go, I'm okay now? Did you ever do this?
No, actually, yes, I am familiar with this. It's like, well, if I lost to this guy, then I want somebody else to lose to that guy too. Yeah. It makes me feel better about myself.
Yeah, you know, maybe it's a little petty thing to do as a player, but you know, if you're Zest and you're sitting at 0-3 from U-Thermal, then you're like, oh, and then you just hear that Clem 3-0's DongRaeGu, and you're like, okay, well, then, you know, not a big deal. I guess some of these non-Korean Terrans are really bringing the noise here in these first games.
Yeah, I mean, from Clem, I kind of expected it because I feel like he has just been so freaking good in this matchup. And I genuinely believe that if you can take multiple series of Raynor, I think you can beat anyone like in this matchup. Like Clem also defeated Cyril in an online tournament a couple of weeks ago. Now, I do think it's important to mention that those games were played like in the middle of the night. Basically, like it was almost 2 a.m. for Cyril. But in the end of the day, it doesn't matter if it's 4 a.m. or 1 a.m. or 7 a.m. Like if you beat Cyril, you're clearly doing something right because Cyril dreams about StarCraft and is very good in his dreams as well. You know, so I just think that Clem's TVZ is he's capable of bringing the fight to anyone, and that's why I picked him to win it. But I was like, I mean, if DongRaeGu looked so good against Solar, it's got to be at least somewhat difficult for Clem, right? So I think I predicted a 3-2 victory for Clem. But looking back at it, at first I actually wanted to do like 3-0, but I was like, nah, then people are going to call me biased again, and I'm going to look really silly if I'm wrong and Clem loses. But he's just so on point. Yeah, I know.
If someone accuses you of bias, just go, oh yeah, I'm extremely biased, for sure. Oh yeah.
Are you lagging? Am I lagging? Was it me? Oh, it was Indy.
Right. I guess it was Indy. Indy doing the noble thing and saying, I apologize, everyone. I'm out.
Do you also still have this whenever you're in a game with a lot of people and then the screen stops that your heart skips a beat? Because I'm like, is it me? And then it's always like...
Now, on this map, it really feels like there is no such thing as a third other than this one on the left. If that one was getting denied, you really, really just want to battle for it and take it. It's such a good position for a third base. Clem still being as annoying as humanly possible with this early Reaper. And once again, DongRaeGu is just doing standard as standard can be. Queen, speed, fast third. And Clem, yet again, will get out with the Reaper. The Reaper never dies.
Last game, we saw heavy emphasis on the Widowmine with drilling claws later on into the game. But don't forget that Clem did start off with those 2 siege tanks, right? That he dropped on the high ground. And I actually felt that maybe that was the one fight that was a little more potential for Clem than what he got out of it. Yeah. On this map, there's a lot of very gnarly positions for tanks, right? If you just look on the right side of the natural, there's some low ground there where tanks can siege up. There's just a lot of annoying little spots where the tanks will provide cover for the Marines, but it's super hard for Zerglings and Banelings to attack them. And I think there's a good chance we'll see quite a few siege tanks coming out of Clem on this map.
DongRaeGu floating the Overlord up into the main base, getting a sense of every single thing that is going on in there. You see the active tech lab on the starport, Hellion Banshee with a typical timing on the Marine stim. So, I mean, this is one of the more standard style openings that we're going to see out of Clem today.
Yep. Some good old Hellion Banshee, where it just basically comes down to, I feel like if you're a Terran player and you feel like, okay, not much can go wrong here, I just need to make sure that I won't get caught off guard, I won't get all in. I think this is always a very solid opening to go with, right? You have a lot of map presence. I mean, roaches are not going to kill your Banshee. Maybe a Ravager will, but that shouldn't ever happen at this level. So I kind of like this. I feel like this is a safe and steady opening. And Clem is not playing this in a way in general where he's like, okay, I need to kill like 12 drones, otherwise I'm behind. Like, no, he'll be very patient with his Banshees and be like, okay, if I grab a couple drones here and there, force out a couple Spore Crawlers, and then keep him alive, it's all good, because that's all I need.
And DongRaeGu is doing, yet again, his fast Carapace. He's getting the Baneling Nest, Queens in good position, and I feel like this is going to be one of the first opportunities where we go, oh, DongRaeGu's finally getting to play his game. If you're a Zerg player on the ladder, you are up against this style of opening so often that, you know, sometimes your brain just turns off and you start just going through the motions. And it's up to the Terran player to do these little pickoffs like this. One queen goes down, second queen goes down. Wow. All right. Disregard everything I just said. I have lied.
That's not little, exactly. I mean, 2 queens going down. Okay, the Banshees do take a lot of damage in the end. I love that DongRaeGu brought that Spore Crawler there, because that could have gotten a whole lot worse. 1 Banshee does go down. I still think that Clem is going to be very happy with this so far. But for a split second, I was like, oh my goodness. If he loses all the queens here, this is a nightmare scenario.
Yeah, I mean, that's the nightmare for the caster. You're talking about how straightforward and standard something is, and then everything begins to blow up and die, and you're like, oh man, wow. please, you're killing me, Clem. Clem is even defeating Day 9. You know, the setup for DongRaeGu, I'm actually curious, did he lose 2 or 3 queens in that opening?
3.
Wow, 3 did fall. I mean, that's one of the strengths of a Hellion Banshee opening. Slight mispositioning can be exploited almost instantly due to the speed of the Hellions and the mobility of the Banshees.
Yeah, I love the way that Clem did it as well. He's like, hey, those queens are a little bit out of position. Bam, goes for it immediately. Banshees show up, and obviously there was no overseer there, so it wasn't even a chance that the queens could just stand there and fight. Like, no, they had to run. But if you're running, you're not dealing any damage, you're just eating damage. So I think Clem did that very well. Here we do have one of these tanks. The Banelings, though, they do get some sort of connection with the Marines. Good job here by DongRaeGu. Finally, DongRaeGu shuts a party down before it really starts, and that was, I think, a really important skirmish. Otherwise, we know how this goes, right? Clem can reinforce that position. Right now, I feel like DRG bought himself a little bit of time.
This is like the first engagement where it looks like DongRaeGu has more stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the first time that the Marines aren't just sitting there stimming again and again and just man-moding it right in front of all the Baneling Zergling forces. I mean, this is looking really nice for DongRaeGu. We have the Mutalisk coming up, +1 attack. There is a reinforcement force for Clem, but it's not quite as significant as it was in the last game.
Clem still has a couple of Marines where he's going to try to be annoying with, but Baneling speed is done, so it's going to be a little bit harder to snipe these Banes, especially because there's a little bit of creep as well. I like how DRG doesn't attack with the Lynx. He tries to run the Lynx past the Marines just to trap them so the Banelings can connect. And DRG is going to shut this down as well. Finally, I feel like our Korean Zerg is gaining a little bit of momentum in this best of 5.
And very nice composure from DongRaeGu there, seeing the afterburners used, waiting, then engaging, just guaranteeing that there's no overcommitment off creep, because losing Ling Baneling off creep was the name of the game and you know what I'm trying to say, Rotterdam.
In game 2, in the previous match.
Just listen to me, yes. Thank you, thank God for you. 5th base going down in the top left corner, and DongRaeGu is moving across the map with the Mutalisks, and for the first time, it feels like DongRaeGu is getting to play his game.
Yep, I'm actually happy about this. Like, you know, obviously I love Clem, and I think it's super exciting that we finally have a young foreign Terran player playing sick high-level StarCraft 2. But I want to see competitive StarCraft, right? And the first 2 games, they didn't look close or competitive. So now I'm really curious to see what Clem is made of, where now he's actually going to have to really work for it. DRG gets a comfortable setup. He's got some map control. He's got plenty of bases. He has potential to make plays as well with this many Mutalisks. So I am super interested to see how this game plays out a minute and a half, 2 minutes from now, because look at that drone count. That's the first time we have a good, healthy drone count to play some Muda Link Bane. I mean, 86, that's just lovely.
And we see a fourth base going down for Clem, but this is a different kind of fourth base. This is a passive fourth base where the Zerg has full map control. There's no Hellions or Banshees or anything harassing. There's no medevacs with Marines inside. DongRaeGu might actually try to perform a bust up this really narrow ramp. Clem has a rally point there, but really there's no tanks, there's no Widow Mines, there's nothing else to defend. DongRaeGu cleanly breaks through, and Clem is scrambling to get to the natural.
8 SCVs going down. I felt like it should have been way more. I felt like there were so many SCVs clumped up there, but good job by Clem saving the majority of those. I mean, that was a good little attack by DRG, and I like those attacks if you're working with 86 drones. It's just important that you don't get too carried away with him. Wow, he just made 10 more drones during all of this. I find that kind of a crazy play. He's gonna...
DongRaeGu, careful.
That's a big one. Oh, no.
Direct hit.
Yeah, I'm afraid that at this point, Clem sees how much damage he's done to those Mutas. He knew that DRG just lost a lot of units. I feel like Clem can start getting adventurous here and start pushing a little bit more with his main army. Because DRG, his army, is always going to be smaller, right? Because he's got 96 drones. So in a straight-up fight, there's potential. Oh, the depot was never rebuilt. Well, this is a great Zergling counterattack.
What a brilliant counterattack. I mean, DRG just snaking his way through the center of the map, and even though it was a completely vulnerable center, I mean, Clem just calmly lifts the supply depots in the main base, calmly brings some Marines back from his southern rally point, and we see only 4 SCVs down.
How?
Who is
John?
this guy?
Yeah, you're supposed to lose 44 there, okay? I've been there in those scenarios.
Yeah.
I lose 44 workers, and I have to all in after that. Come on, Clem.
Like, if I'm playing co-op commander and the Zerg's the AI, I still concede, right, man? This is like an incredible positional thoughtfulness for Clem. And it looks like DRG is not giving up yet. DRG's creep spread good enough in the middle of the map that he feels comfortable performing this counterattack. Now, keep in mind, there's no Widow Mines here. DRG is just going to roll straight up to the Planetary Fortress, but an absolutely massive shot goes down on those SCVs. 9 get picked off, and somehow the Planetary Fortress stays alive. Meanwhile, DongRaeGu assaults that top army comp.
Yeah, this is a big fight, of course, off creep. The Widow Mines were actually not burrowed, and that makes this a lot harder for Clem. In the end, a couple of big hits did go down, but I feel like that should have gone a lot better for Clem if he would have just burrowed the initial mines. There is a little drop, though, on the left top side, getting 7 drones, but this hatchery is not going to fall. I mean, that was an interesting turn of events, right? Because first, DRG, it feels like he should have killed the planet. Oh my god, he's going to go over 100 drones day night. What?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
No, the Widow Mines! Oh!
Careful, careful! Ouch! Yes, for any of you who do not know the drilling clause change, you do now. Yeah, I mean, DongRaeGu unable to see those Widow Mines right there, just eating some big chunks of damage. And Clem seems kind of undeterred, still expanding to the bottom right, but let's not forget that there is more or less no more minerals left in the main base. Clem, the first significant mistake of the game. In the main base, the supply depots haven't lifted. Clem has his whole army just there at the south of his main base.
Okay, I actually did not see that either. I was like...
He's a human. He's an actual human. We have the first evidence that this is not a sophisticated AI.
All right, there we go. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I was like,
gosh.
He's maxed out, but why does he not have any units out on the map? I was actually looking around. I was like, where is his supply? DRG is still sitting at 99 drones. I did feel that there were 2 fights where he should have had overseers and he didn't, because those Widow Mines, they survived way longer than they ever should have.
Yeah.
I mean, this is anybody's game at this point. What I'm wondering about is, do you think we'll see a Ghost Academy anytime soon? Or do you think the emphasis is going to be on Liberators? And while I'm asking that question, we see double Starport going down, so I guess we are going to see a whole bunch of Liberators.
Meanwhile, DongRaeGu again leveraging the multitasking edge, sending in Ling Baneling to the bottom right, but every single time DongRaeGu makes a good attack like this, I think that the command center is going to fall, but no, Clem just happens to have really nicely positioned units at some side of the map. There was another altercation at the top where a mere Thor, Marine, and Marauder are there to showcase the Terran unit diversity, and everyone else is dead. I mean, really, really nice defenses from DongRaeGu, but at the same time, Clem's pushing to this 6th base.
I mean, there was a Widow Mine near that planetary fortress that blew up like 40 Zerglings or something ridiculous like that. And I think that made it a little bit easier. This is obviously an important hatchery for DongRaeGu. He's going to send a couple of Banelings forward, but the splitting is on point. This hatchery is going to fall.
No. Right at the start of the engagement, DongRaeGu loses the hatch, does get some excellent connections on the Marines. The Mutalisk count is significant. Clem wailing on him with that Thor, but there's just more and more and more and more Zerg units. We even see the extra macro hatch in the main base, just pumping things out. DongRaeGu also has Ultralisks.
Yeah, I mean, the economy of DongRaeGu is insane. And I really think that if he would have just once or twice been able to pick off one of those planetaries that he was going for, I think this game would be over. I still like his position because he does have the ultimate upgrades. I mean, he's getting even the speed upgrades for the Ultras. He still has 92 drones, which is the kind of drone count you want to see from a Zerg player like this. But I do think it's important, Sean, that the next time he commits to a planetary, that he gets it. Because twice right now he has made an attempt and he didn't get it. Those are very expensive attacks for Zerg players, and eventually they're gonna run out of steam. So DOG needs to make damn sure that next time he wastes like 20 or 30 Banelings, he actually gets the job done.
And I think that you make a great point, observing the mine being this key defensive factor. We see Clem just having like 1-2 mines every planetary fortress, and the value is just adding up. Clem is starting to try to push by Clem's own 6th base, but DRG has some Ultralisks there. There's plenty of Widow mines. I mean, gosh, another counterattack at the bottom. Ultralisk goes in first to hopefully eat any sort of mine shot. And what do we see? Clem somehow microing well with the workers. And is this planetary going to fall?
Oh, it's so close, but oh my goodness,
God.
Again.
I can't believe Clem keeps living in these situations.
No more Zerglings coming in, but the mules have been dropped, so that planetary stays alive. I mean, this is exactly what I was talking about. I really felt like DRG needed to get the job done. He is losing a lot of drones everywhere.
Oh my gosh.
Widow Mines, Liberators. At this point, DRG said, all right, enough is enough. I want to get this planetary. But Sean, now it means he's very far off creep. Is he overcommitting at this point? This is like his entire army.
This matchup is insane right now. The Mutalists trying to deal with Liberators, drops, harassment. Planetary fortresses keep living by the skin of their teeth. And here's Clem hauling ass after these Banelings and Ultralisks, picking them off with the faster Marine Marauder comp off creep. DongRaeGu has a pack of Banelings desperately trying to finish. And I think DongRaeGu might barely be able to stabilize right now. I mean, picking off that bottom right base was incredibly significant.
Yeah, that's massive. Now Clemens is going to send over an orbital command instead because he does want to get the economy. The thing is, though, there's a big base, of course, for DongRaeGu on the right side of his main, but there is no creep connecting where his army currently is and that base. I mean, this game is just getting wild. We've got Mutas on the other side of the other side of the map trying to harass and picking off a couple of units, but they've been flying into Widow Mines, as you can see as well. Clem wants this base. Clem is maxed out. Can the Widow Mines keep Clem safe here?
It's Ultra Baneling. The Ultralisk absorbing so many shots, letting the Banelings roll in, but Clem just has too much. The Mutalisks are not there to provide the little bit of extra reinforcing power. More Banelings trying to roll up, but this small connection between these two bases doesn't have creep, and Clem is just parking himself there. Finally, the Mutalisks managed to make their way from the other side of the map, but Widow Mines just every time it looks good for DongRaeGu, there's another Widow Mine, Roddy.
Yeah, those mines have been trader mines so far, though, because first, it's so funny. Clem picked up a Thor with his medevac, and then the Widow Mine shot and killed the medevac that was carrying the Thor. And then the second Widow Mine actually did some friendly fire as well. I mean, Clem still has that 20-ish army supply advantage, but obviously he's been taking a little bit of a beating economically as well. Look at these mines everywhere. Are you kidding me? Clem getting good connection after good connection. It feels like Clem is starting to get himself in an advantageous position, but DRG refuses to give up here.
I mean, Clem has stemmed these Marines so many times. It's interesting to note that in terms of the unit counts, the medevac count is at 3. After all these exchanges again and again and again, as good as the macro is for Clem, DongRaeGu has been very diligent about picking off those medevacs, which increasingly makes these armies more and more fragile. But I mean, maybe it doesn't even matter, Roddy. I mean, he just keeps rallying in endless streams of infantry.
Yeah, it's so close. I mean, DRG wants to deal more damage on the other side of the map. A single turret there is obviously not going to keep that base safe forever. Now we're fighting off creep, and it seems like Clem was a little bit distracted. A lot of banelings do go down just dealing with Marauders, though. And that means a couple of bio units survive. Just having that little bit of creep here makes DRG's life so much better. It allows these ultras to get better hits off. It allows the banelings to connect a little more. But Clem is, once again, still hanging in there with a couple of Marauders. He still has a few mines to fall back on. What a great game. Finally, Sean. Finally, we are getting a great game of StarCraft over here.
And I mean, DongRaeGu is almost out at the third base. The fourth is looking a little light. It really is all about these bottom two bases for the Zerg. And similarly, this northern base for Clem and the bottom right base for Clem are the only ones that really have extra mining mineral patches. We see down in the bottom right, no planetary fortress there. We have some Ultralisks. Oh no, a little bit of disorganization. The Ultralisks, are they in too vulnerable a position? No, reinforcing banelings are going to be heading down. But God, the Widow Mine after Widow Mine after Widow Mine keeps popping up at these expansions. DongRaeGu might have enough to pick this off. Ultralisk falls at the fourth planetary fortress. But look at this, Clem somehow finally has run out of defenses at this bottom right expansion. But look at the top left. Clem with a sneaky, cheeky drop, picking that off as well.
Yeah, it's a base for a base at this point. Zerglings are going to connect here. That Widowmine kills all the Marines instead. Where both players were super rich like a minute or two ago, suddenly it feels like they're both becoming quite poor. They, of course, still have bases across the map, but that was messy. That was an absolute bloodbath where they both lost a lot. It felt a little clumsy. We've got Hero Zergling indeed preventing this Orbital from landing. Like, it felt clumsy what DRG was doing in the right bottom side. Because these Ultras, they were like trying to attack Marauders behind mineral patches, and it obviously didn't look pretty. But getting the job done there was very important because he did deal some significant economic damage.
You know, a few minutes ago you asked me, are we going to see Ghosts or Liberators? And I guess the answer is no. I mean, this game has suddenly become crazy scrappy. We both see the players kind of focusing on their center line bases. And in this position, the advantage does go to the Terran player. Terran is going to have a little bit more efficiency with those bases and has historically had a little bit more efficiency in this game. Clem's going to once again try to pick off that top left. What's the unit count for the Terran player? It's got 33 Marines, 12 Marauders, 5 Medevacs, and 11 Widow Mines.
Did all the Mutas go down, by the way? Wow, okay. So apparently all the Mutas are done at this point, which actually scares me a little bit for DRG, because that means that he's going to have a very hard time keeping these Medevacs in check, right? That Medevac count has been low. All the drones are trapped, by the way, in the bottom side of the map.
Oh, no.
This means that this game is just insane. They're both dealing significant economic damage on both sides, but this has got to be a fantastic trade here for Clem, getting 20 drones and getting the most important base for DRG.
I mean, you were just saying the danger of not having Mutalisks. Mutalisks are the fast, mobile unit. Creep does not extend in the center of the map, so it's hard to run from the bottom to the top. Not so for Clem. Clem has the speedy Marines, the afterburner Medevacs. Ultralisk desperately trying to pick off some of these Marines, but Clem just calmly retreats. Small counterattack from DRG at the right side of the map, trying to find something, anything he can to distract. You know, something's better than nothing, but at this point, 152 supply to 142 supply. Small edge here for Clem.
Yeah, it does really feel like Clem is getting himself in a better position, but he still needs to take care of all these Ultras. We don't have Liberators, we don't have Gulls. So when 5 or 6 Ultras show up, this is going to be very hard. Clem is kind of in an awkward position there with his bio units. If I was Clem, I would have just maybe picked those up, tried to get the army together. Look at this, even the Queens are coming along, Sean. That means that DRG is serious about delivering a big blow to Clem. He's not really getting it yet. I mean, there are orbitals in the right bottom side of the map, but he's not going to be able to kill them because he's out of Mutalisks. He's got nothing. These orbitals can just chill in the air, and they'll be safe for now. Oh, that's so rough.
DRG is trying to set up a Zergling counterattack at the top side, and this is a game about counterattacking and allocating your units around the map. If you can break into these positions like DRG is at this top, this is maybe the way that DRG can pull back in this game. Clem has a small advantage right now, and it looks like not too many SCVs get picked off, but again, anything is good at this point in time, especially when the spend is just minerals as Zerglings.
Yep, no, that was a very successful run by. Of course, there's quite a few Zerglings that did go down in the end, but getting those SCVs is nice, a little bit of lost mining time. I mean, DRG is down 40 army supply, and that's obviously quite a bit. but there's still potential. You know what I'm super sad about? And I know you love this upgrade, but I would have loved to see Burrow. Like, Clem has Widow Mines everywhere. What about DRG having a couple of Burrow Banelings here and there? This game is chaotic enough that you'll absolutely get some great hits, right? Like, there's no freaking way that Clem is gonna scan everywhere he walks because there's just too much happening in this game.
Really, really great moves from both players. Clem looked one step ahead, sending a force to the top left. That top left expansion, we haven't talked about a lot in the last 3 minutes, but it is essential that DRG keeps that alive and mining, and DRG sent the forces to deflect some potential attack at the perfect time. Really great foresight there from DongRaeGu. A gigantic Marine Marauder army finally is gathered together to face DongRaeGu head on. Those Ultralisks are so difficult to pick off, but Clem actually has enough, and DongRaeGu continues to tumble in supply.
Yeah, look at the medevac count. I feel like Clem can stim for days at this point. Off creep, Clem is just not going to make any mistakes, man. He's too good for that. I love the positioning of his units. Being near that planetary is safe. We do have another circling run by, getting a few more STVs, but it's just not enough. I really feel that DongRaeGu is officially running out of steam at this point. He was hoping for a slip up by Clem there, a micro error, maybe Clem getting over eager and fighting too deep onto creep. But look at Clem, he's being so patient, just taking base after base, forcing the fights to be off creep and displaying fantastic micro in all the battles.
Clem now taking this other center line expansion. All the bases for Clem are clustered together. DongRaeGu kind of has this weird one in the top right, one in the bottom middle, having to defend both small Marine Marauder forces at the bottom, and also a counter push at the top from DongRaeGu trying to move forward. But look at how many mines there are! Oh my god! The mines annihilate everything, Roddy, but the Ultralisks do manage to pick off the expansion command center, and there were enough Lings to defray the attack at the bottom side, so DongRaeGu manages to keep all of his bases alive, but the main army for Clem is way, way too huge.
It almost feels like these run-bys that DRG is going for are not worth it anymore. You need those units at home, my friend. He's getting a few more Banelings. I mean, Clem obviously losing that base was a big blow to his economy. He's starting to run low on command centers as well. DRG gets this around, gets a couple of Marines and Marauders. Good fight there on creep. The biggest problem is, though, losing those mutas. I think ever since he lost the mutas, he hasn't killed a single medevac. So Clem has plenty of medevacs. He's always able to save units. He will never run out of energy. And DRG is making SCVs. The best of... Yeah. Those SCVs.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for a potential little silver lining somewhere, some hope, that can maybe give you a little bit. We see 23 workers on the field for Clem. 23, but orbital commands, just abundant, being able to drop so many mules across the entire map. Top left base going to get easily eaten alive. And DongRaeGu is just going to keep falling back, keep retreating, has to rely heavily on these southern bases. But, I mean, these Zergling counterattacks are really starting to add up, Roddy.
Yeah, they've been successful, but I think it's just a little too late at this point. Once again, something I often look at the big macro games is the units lost resource step. And DRG has lost 17,000 resources more than Clem. I mean, I think that kind of tells the tale of this game. 17k in a game where they have both mined a lot. I mean, that's a massive difference.
And almost 1,000 Zerglings down this game. DRG, who has been trying so hard to do so many counterattacks. Clem just keeps expanding. Another force down here at the bottom. Does DongRaeGu have enough to keep his remaining two bases alive? Attempted Zergling counterattack at the north is going to fall apart. Clem looks like he's doing the final death march. There it is. GG. Wow. Whoa.
I'm pretty speechless. That was one hell of a game. I mean, that's the kind of game that we obviously hope for here at TSL 5. Finally, DRG had a comfortable setup, right? We got a little worried when he lost 2 or 3 queens early on, and I was like, oh no, this could snowball. But no, he got himself going. He got in a fantastic macro position. He was rich. He was able to make run-bys. He had his mutas, but Clem just... The defense, impeccable, honestly. Like, it felt a couple of times like he was going to crumble under the pressure, but he always just had enough units to fall back on. I mean, this game was just insane. I feel like there's so many things to talk about.
I mean, I feel like we got 3 games in one in that last match. And I mean, the defense from Clem, because I mean, I feel like, at least when I think about traditional, like, hey, was it a good defense? I think about someone tried to do something and they were prevented from doing something. And Clem kind of has this, okay, you can attack this base, but I'm going to have 2 Widow Mines and a Planetary Fortress, and I'm going to micro it just right so that, yeah, you actually can kill off a lot of SCVs, and you might even pick off the Planetary, but you definitely lost more than I spent. And I feel like that's kind of the story of where those Mutalisks went. There were like 30 some odd Mutalisks at some point in the game, and they just kind of kept getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller until DongRaeGu gets distracted once, and the remaining 12 Mutalisks just kind of wither away at a Planetary Fortress with a few SCVs repairing a turret.
Yeah, I love that you actually go on about it, because that is, I think, what I'll take away from this game. There's a lot of skirmishes that were awesome. There were a lot of fights and a lot of maybe questionable decisions here and there. But those 1 or 2 Widow Mines that he always put next to the Planetary, it felt like that saved 2 or 3 Planetaries, because they got massive connections right off the bat. Like 20, 30 Zerglings go down, or 6, 7 Banelings go down. And that is the difference between the Planetary surviving with 100 HP and the Fortress actually going down. So,
like immediately popping. Because I mean, normally if you're a Zerg player and you just build enough Banelings and Zerglings, you just go, I will kill this now, and then boop, it's gone. But I mean, the Widow Mines, I was even specifically looking for them at these bases, but just like moving them right against the minerals and then like burrowing, so it's always under a mining SCV. These little tiny techniques that Clem used just got so much value.
Well, one hell of a series. We're gonna need a moment after that one.
We stand as one.
Are